Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I am excited to have you all here. I see everybody is beginning to join the webinar and logging in and getting everything set up for themselves. I'm excited to have you here. This is another in our series about Partner Optimizer and how having the ideal partners can make a difference in your partner programs. Today's topic is how to use social intent tactics to close your ideal partners. Because once you know what your ideal partners are, now you need to do something to close them and turn them from leads into actual partners and then keep them there as well. So today is, I've got two amazing special guests for you. I am Laura Steward, Director of Online Channel Events for SASMAX. I am excited to be here. A few little housekeeping that we're going to be doing. If you have any questions for our speakers, please put those in the question pane, and I will be reviewing those throughout the webinar. We will also have a short survey at the end, which we would love if you can answer and let us know if you'd like to be introduced to any of our speakers or if you'd like to take Partner Optimizer SASMAX up on our special offer for you. As I said, I'm Laura Steward, the Director of Online Channel Events for SASMAX Partner Optimizer. I am a former MSP CEO as well. Our guest speakers today who are going to come on camera now, I am excited to have them both here. We have Dr. Ashlyn Silva, Director of Social Media and Digital Marketing at JS Group. So Ashlyn, come on. Hey, good to see you. And we've got Mark Troy, founder and CEO of Union Resolute. So rather than me go through this whole thing about how awesome you guys are, because your bios are crazy long and you've done so much in there, give me a brief blurb on what you'd like people to know about you for this. Mark, why don't you start?
Sure. I've been a sales professional for about 25 years, and I look at this as an opportunity to just share some thoughts I've had and look forward to connecting with all of you.
Ashlyn?
Hi, I'm Dr. Silva. I started as a professor and doctoral candidate, and now I'm here. A lot of the talents that I learned through my years in grad school helped me learn a lot about researching and a lot of the trends that we're going to talk about today that can help lead to leads for the vendors. So I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome. What I love about both of you and both of your companies is how much you help channel companies figure out how to engage with their partners and make sure that the people that they're signing up are the right people and keeping them as the right people. So both of you do that through your companies so well. Let's dive right in. What we're going to cover today is how we define an ideal partner, what is social intent, and strategies to convert your ideal partner, which is why you are all here, I am sure, that are listening today. So let's start out with what is your definition of an ideal partner? Because as Mark and Dr. Silva, Ashlyn, as we started prepping this, one of the things that we really believed was important was the whole concept that it doesn't matter what your tactics are if you and your strategies if you don't have an ideal partner. And this is one of the things that Partner Optimizer is really big about. So an ideal partner is a standard of excellence or perfection, and some of the things are listed on the right side of the screen. They have the right customers for you, they engage with you, have the right expertise, sell the right solutions, they drive revenue to you, and also are great to work with. But what if you're engaging the wrong partners? I mean, I know Mark and Ashlyn, one of the big things that we talked about in prep for this was this idea that if you don't know who your ideal partner is, you may have somebody that's not on this slide. It shows 94% perfect fit. This is something that Partner Optimizer pulls out for everybody, finds the right people. If you're not targeting the 94% perfect fit, you're targeting the 26%, what in your experience ends up happening? Mark, you want to start with that?
Sure. Sales is about using your time wisely. And obviously looking at an ideal partner profile gives you an indication of these people are in market for what you're selling. So when they're ideal and you look at a tool like this ideal partner profile SASMAX offers, it's a powerful tool. And then from there, you know that you're working in the right area with your sales process and sales acumen. So stick with it, go after these people, but hone in as opposed to selling to everyone. You have to know where you're spending your time.
Yeah. Ashlyn, you want to add anything to that?
Back on that and say this is the time to be online, especially when it comes to LinkedIn. Partners are going to find great things, and we've seen great things happen. I can't wait to get further into it.
So these are a few of the attributes that make up ideal partners, and some things that, as we're going to continue with this webinar today, you might want to be thinking about your existing partners and your potential partners. Keep all of that in mind as we continue to start taking you into the different strategies and tactics for social intent when you're going out. As Ashlyn just said, we're going to be talking quite a bit about LinkedIn as well as a place on social where you would be doing that. So keep these in mind, and there'll be several offers at the end from all of our speakers today. So let's start now and talk about this. What is social intent, and how is it different from social selling? Mark, you want to start?
Sure. So social intent means that you have an understanding that someone is showing that they're in market for what you're selling. So it is, as you can see on the left here, it's a sniper versus a howitzer. And when you understand the intent of the audience, ideal partner programs are powerful. So when you look at a 94% versus a 26, you're obviously looking at the social intent, and you're leveraging that through things like LinkedIn. In this case, that's where I spend most of my time, is LinkedIn and email. And when we're looking at social intent, we're really looking at this from the perspective of these people are showing that they're in market. So that's where you want to spend your time.
Ashlyn?
And I just I like to simplify things, because I know that taking a step online can be a little overwhelming. So for me, social intent, it's tools, it's programs, it's, we're figuring out what we need to get, whereas social selling is more finesse, and it's built about relationships and these sales funnels that you will get from being there.
Yeah, both of what you were saying really intrigues me quite a bit as a former MSP, because I feel like, and even now, not as an MSP, but with some of the things that are on my profiles on all of my social media, especially LinkedIn, I feel like I'm being sold by the wrong people. They maybe are searching for a keyword, and they're doing this howitzer approach. Okay, we're going to send out this huge shell, and we're going to see where it lands, and we're going to send the same thing to everybody. And from an MSP perspective, I prefer the sniper approach, that they're only they've done all the research. I've interviewed on my radio show a Navy SEAL sniper, and I compared him to Harry Potter, because one of the things he talked about as a sniper is you never want to pull the trigger. Until you've got so much investigation done beforehand, you know exactly everything you need to know about who you are going to potentially have to, in their case, shoot. So you've gathered all the information. So you've got the ideal partner, as we're talking about here. In a sniper case, it's not a partner, but it's an enemy. But the howitzer approach just sort of shoots at everybody. And some people that are really good partners may be in there, and some might not. So in terms of gathering data, how do you suggest narrowing it down with your ideal partners to determine how you approach them on social media? Anybody want to start?
Ashlyn, you want to go first?
I want to do what you had to say.
My opinion, this is a very focused on my opinion relative to selling. Social selling is fearful for a lot of people. They have a tough time saying, let me connect with you because I have something you may need. But the approach you mentioned, Laura, is very, very important to understand, that you cannot throw everything out at your ideal partners. Even if, let's say, you have, use numbers here, 50% and greater you're going to go after you optimize. You still have to use that data and go after these people over and over again because they're busy. So I think a lot of people have a tough time understanding the difference between sniper and howitzer, because you can't just go after the top 10. You need to have some level of volume, And you have to have a story to tell these people over and over again. So when we talk about intent and social selling, there's a balance, but don't be afraid of doing it. And we talked about this a few days ago on our prep call. If there's fear in selling, especially in the social elements of, let's say, a LinkedIn as an example of a place where people are meant to do business, and people say unsubscribe, that's okay. Don't be fearful of that. You will step on a toe or two, but it's okay. But to the point of a howitzer versus a sniper, the sniper is where you want to be, but you have to broaden it out enough to have enough to go after.
And I think to add on to that, you also have to take into consideration a lot of the recent events that have led us to be online. And that's opening a lot of doors and also opening a lot of eyes. I guess I would say ears, but eyes since you were messaging your prospects. But I really think that now is the time and it is working. And that's what we're here to discuss.
Well,
And
it's interesting.
if I can add to that one moment, it is crowded and it is going to be noisy at times. But if your message is meant for that ideal partner, please, I implore you, go after them. Don't be afraid of thinking that there's too much out there. It does work.
Ashlyn, you mentioned ears and then you switched to eyes. Are either of you on Clubhouse? Are either of you on Clubhouse, the new audio social platform?
Not yet.
All right,
Nice.
so we won't talk about that yet, but it is something that perhaps we want to talk about at some point because it is an audio platform for people where you can create groups to potentially bring your ideal partners in or create conversations in there. But in terms of the social for today, we're not really talking about the ear platforms, although podcasts could be another way to start creating some conversations with your ideal partners. This was some great statistics that JS Group provided us. Partner engagement in the digital normal. 91% of partners prefer to engage with an expert recommended by their connections, right? Versus this random stuff. And 67% of B2B tech partners prefer a digital engagement versus an in-person meeting or phone call. This was fascinating to me when you both, Ashlyn, when you sent this slide over, and Mark, when we were talking about several other things. Why do you think it is that more people are moving towards wanting engagements via social? I don't think it's strictly a COVID happening. Why do you think it is that they want that versus a phone or an email or things like that?
I mean, obviously convenience is a huge factor. I also think we had a podcast discussion, you and I, on culture graphics, which is like demographics, but a little more pointed towards what's happening in the world and being connected. And I think that is a huge portion of that percentage.
And you have data. So when you use a social platform, you have a lot more to work with. And it's similar to email. The email is a one-to-one. This can be one-to-many. So when you use it properly, you're putting your content in front of the right audience, ideal customer or partner profile. So if you push that content, to your point, podcast and certain other content sets you can put out there, they're going to the right people. Then you can leverage it by using the data to individually connect with these people. So it's a multifaceted tool. It's a Swiss Army knife in a lot of cases.
Okay, so knowing this data, knowing what you guys just said, what are one of the first things that those on the webinar want to do, need to do in order to reach out to their ideal partners that they've gotten through whatever resource, whether it's Partner Optimizer or some other place? They know who their ideal partners are, they've gotten a list, and now they want to start stepping out onto social with intent, because that's a key word, right? Intent means you know the outcome you want. What are the first steps that they should do?
I don't want to get into later slides, but update your LinkedIn profile. Like really give that a makeover. Less is more. New pictures are great. Banners. We are all about aesthetic online. What draws you in, draws you in. What makes you bored, makes you leave. So really, really make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date. You'd be surprised how many people still have jobs from '97 on there that is kind of irrelevant to today. So just make sure you're sharp there.
I agree with that. Preparation, that, and plus understand what your plan is. Have a plan. You know, you can't just start going out there and hitting people. You want to know who are you hitting and why, at what threshold, what does that look like? And to you, it's really going to be an internal conversation with your salesperson or team to understand what are your goals and what are you trying to accomplish. Because selling is not just about talking to people, it's truly looking at where you're spending your time and your energy. And when you're using LinkedIn as an example, it can take a lot of time to do this research. So an ideal partner profile is critical. So obviously SaaS Max has that and it's a powerful piece of the puzzle, but then you have to execute against the plan. Be prepared.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right. So you mentioned setting up your profile, and that's a company profile and a personal profile. But what is actually a thing you do? I mean, do you just start sending out messages, private messages on LinkedIn? Do you create posts? Do you create groups? I mean, what are some actual strategies and tactics that our listeners on the webinar today can do that you've seen to begin doing, and how long should it take to start seeing results? I mean, I know that's it depends, but let's talk reality. I mean, I know there's going to be no's out there too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say I think LinkedIn is a seriously helpful tool to have in your toolkit. This on the slide right here, we're seeing people buy from people they like. So I love to tell partners that when they're looking for new partners, just if you can check out their page, maybe see an article that they've written that you like, or that they really like, that could establish a connection, a conversation over that piece. I've also found that video, we were talking yesterday, that video specifically designed to the partner you are reaching out to is awesome. So Mark, take it from there.
Well, I agree, and build a rapport. So, get your house in order. You mentioned groups. Maybe you start a group. You definitely want to have your corporate page polished. You want your personal profile polished, and you want a plan. So develop content, create content, both content that is meant for the masses and content meant for the individual. And don't be afraid of templates. Do not be afraid of sending a message to somebody over and over, as long as it's meant to be, here's who I am, here's what we do, thought you might have interest. That's okay. When you start to automate things a little too much, then it turns into these long, and we've seen them, very long messages. You can tell were not intended for the right person. Just make sure who you're reaching out to is exactly who you want to speak with, but you got to have some scale. You cannot just over research every individual. You've got the pyramid, and at the top is your 10%, then the rest you still want to go after. So figure out that plan and keep it short. Nobody cares about your verbose email / LinkedIn. People have only a few seconds, and you want to be respectful of that. You have to be.
And to add on to what you said, Mark, about creating your own content to bring in viewers, that may sound like a lot, but there are people who can write content for your team, and there's also programs that can upload your content for you, so you don't have to do anything at all. You just plug it in and send it out. So it's not as stressful as it sounds, I promise.
I 100% agree. People are fearful of the content creation side. And look, if you do a post, simple one that you can control without any tools, and I think Ashley has a ton of experience here in what kind of tools and how and where, but even just a simple post in an article. I've done this a little bit. I find the time, and sometimes it's Saturday, I wrote some articles. It really helped, especially during the pandemic where we had selling in fear. You can't sell in fear. So there's a lot of things you can put out there that people want to read. You'd be surprised how many people show interest in what you write without it being heavy lifting.
You can see this, I'm like formulating the best way to put this because I get solicited so badly. Very, very regular. And then sometimes I have some people I'm like, okay, because I have, a top podcast out there in the world and radio show, they're soliciting me for that thing. When I was in the channel, I would get solicited from people who had a product that they thought I would do. But a lot of those reach outs, I just delete. Like, I don't even want to respond to these people because I feel like I'm being sold. Like they're not telling me anything of value. It's a cookie cutter reach out that says, we are awesome. You need to sell us and let's get a call. When I get that stuff, whether it's a paragraph or if it's 10 paragraphs, and I have gotten some of them that are long like that, or somebody's responded to a post I've put on social media and their their comment to a post I've written is, well, we're awesome, come talk to us. It really has nothing relevant to what I've written. What do you say to that? And how do you recommend that people, like some phrasing, some words, some ideas on how they begin to build that rapport? And is the first email they send out a solicitation, or is it a let's get to know each other?
It's a great question. It is never a solicitation up front. It's a here's who I am and what I do, why you might care. And that's important because that is selling. Some people say not interested, and some people will react negatively to those things. That's part of the game you're playing when you're selling. But I tell people, make it a cocktail party message. What would you say to someone at a cocktail party? How would you behave at a cocktail party? Be yourself. Be brief and show interest in others. To your point, a lot of times you really have to show interest in what they've posted or what they've said or what they're doing. And other times you're really just saying, here's who I am and here's what I do. I'd like a networking event, for example. What would you do at a networking event? So I think it's just behave like a normal human in the digital world, and a lot of good things will come of it, especially when you care about others and you're able to do it at scale. Just find a way to balance that out. But don't ask for the deal in the initial, never.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think using the data that is available on tools like LinkedIn, especially when you already know that you have your match with a person or with a prospect. So a thing that I found extremely helpful that I've seen a lot of positive response to is actually reaching out with a personalized video. Just like, take it on your computer with your webcam or even FaceTime video, whatever, just record it and introduce it that way. I've seen a lot of success with that. People really like the personability and the face-to-face, which we've gone a very long time without before recently.
Yep.
Does that?
It's a good point. Leverage the fact that we're in the Zoom world now, so it is about video and it's about you, your face.
Does that video go in a private message to the person, or is that video out on the main board?
Private.
Private.
Once you kind of establish that rapport, if you do get a bite from that person, then you could start tagging them in things that are relevant to what they like. I always recommend looking at your prospects' profiles, seeing if they have any hobbies or interests that they post about. So maybe you could kind of work your way in with those too.
Yep. And that's spending your time in the place where those people are. And that's the top 10% again. And to the point of, do you put a video up of you speaking to the public domain? Yes, you can do that. But then that individual video message to that person is very, very powerful. And I strongly recommend give it a shot. And it's not hard to do. Just, do a little research or get some advice and you won't be intimidated by it.
Is there a framework for that video that you guys recommend?
I mean, don't become Quentin Tarantino, obviously, but just maybe like 1 to 2 minutes. We love short and sweet. They love short and sweet. That's what really matters, is we don't want to waste anyone's time. We want to be approachable and friendly and about them, but we also don't want to take up the whole day.
And you would be surprised how long a minute can be in a video. So even, try to go the shorter you can, the better. And if it feels great and authentic and get it done in 22 seconds, you are winning. Absolutely winning.
So it's something like, hi, I'm Laura Steward. I'm with Sazmex Partner Optimizer. I was looking at your profile and some of the things you love to do. I'm also a Star Wars geek and Star Trek fan. My company does this kind of thing. I'd love for us to connect.
Yes.
Dead on.
Okay. All right, cool. Can I take that snippet out and go use it somewhere else?
Try it out. Send it to us to take a look at.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to test content. Try new things. And it won't take a lot of time. You'd be very surprised how quickly, if you just stand at a keyboard and type, you can write a post. Or try the video and you feel weird at first, but then you get through it. When I first got into COVID with Zoom calls, I was, wow, this is what I really look like. But you get used to it, and then all of a sudden you realize people want to see you. They really do. Every time I meet a new potential customer on a Zoom call, it's really great because it's the best we can do with what we have. We're much more focused now on selling because we can do it here in a 2D medium, but still personalize it. So the face-to-face will never go away, but you can get a lot more done if you balance that out a little bit, and it's kind of fun to do. Ashlyn's good at it too.
I also just think of all the time you're saving. You don't have to sit down in a meeting. You can just send a LinkedIn video. It's what a time to be alive.
Absolutely.
All right, Mark, earlier you mentioned the no, that somebody may say no to you and that it's okay to get a no. In the marketing world, it's always been you need to reach out 7 times. You need like 7 to 9 touch points before somebody is really willing to potentially give you a yes. So on social media, with social intent marketing, social intent selling, what does that no really say? Is it never contact that person again or find another way of approaching them? And how long between the reach outs?
It's it's an excellent question. And to clarify now, it is up to 20 touch points to get someone's
Wow.
attention. It's crazy because there's so much content, and COVID over kind of indexed in a very strange way relative to connecting. So it still does work. People are busy. I think the no is important because it means you're closer to a yes. And ask what the no means. If someone says not interested, are you not interested now? Do you mind if I stay in touch with you? You'd be surprised how many people say not interested, but then reply to that email of, mind if I reach out later? No, no problem at all. Don't be afraid that no, it does mean no, but you got to get the clarification on that. So be okay with that and be okay with the actual no's, the ones that people say, I'm just not interested. Even if their ideal partner profile, even if you think that they're the best fit, it just means no. Sometimes that's the game you're playing. Be okay with it.
And that's just more experience for you to learn to do better if that happens for you. And I feel like Mark would agree with me. Every no leads to a yes eventually.
Always.
So yeah.
No's are very good. That means you're doing your job. You will get more no's than yeses. And at the end of the day, you will learn from them. The question is sometimes, can you learn from a no? No, sometimes it's just that. You won't get any more information. Move on to the next one. And don't let your ego get hurt, because if that was the case, I'd be out of business.
I think so many of us
Lucky
would be, right?
I'm more behind the scenes, so I get to play ghost.
Really Rocky 4.
Okay, now I got the theme song running through my head on that one. When I think about social media and ideal partners, right? We're typically when we've found an ideal partner, it's a company. It's not often an individual at that company, although the lists may include contact people on there. Determining who the right contact person is on social can sometimes feel a little overwhelming. And there could be 2 or 200 people listed as members of that organization. How do you decide who to reach out to on social with whatever communications you're doing? And is it appropriate to reach out to more than one?
I'll take that. The answer is no. You really have to know who your decision makers are and who the influencers are, and sometimes the gatekeepers. So as you go through this maze of 200, or you want to get to the point of 2 or 3, ideally. And that typically is, and sometimes you'd be surprised, a CFO sometimes is your friend to talk to first, because they hold the purse strings. If you've got an ROI discussion, you've got something really interesting that they would be interested in, saving money for the company, there's somebody that might be typically not someone you would look at. But most people, professional salespeople, know the decision maker and know the influencer. So just make sure you're getting the right people. And it can be it can be more than 2 or 3. It can be upwards of 5 in a big organization. But just be aware that you're looking for a few people, not a lot.
A pro tip that I like to tell people is if you're not sure who influencers of your particular product or service may be, you can Google it. You can find them, and then you can connect with them, see who they're following, see what hashtags they're following, and the data is there. It's there for you to use.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Sometimes you're given a name of somebody that you think is the right person, but when you're out there on social and you're looking at all those different things, what you can see is perhaps they're not. So are there telltales inside somebody's profile that would tell you who the person is? I mean, what do you need to look for inside the different profiles?
I mean, know your product, know your audience. So, I mean, it's kind of goes back into your sales strategy and plan overall. When you get to the nuances of doing the research within the applications like LinkedIn, then you're dealing with finding the people, not evaluating who the decision maker is, because that essentially means you don't know your target market. So if you don't have that real understanding of who your target market is, and specifically those within that target market, you'll have a very tough time. You'll be fumbling through LinkedIn quite a bit to find the right people. So I'd say that's my opinion. Start there. Make sure you know your sales plan, your sales strategy, and who you're going after and why. Then it's about fine tuning. Ashlyn will tell you, you just got to navigate and use the tools and find the right data points to find the right people.
And I do apologize for the wild hand thing. I muted, but there, of course, somebody decided they had to come to my door.
I'm doing the same
Welcome.
thing with my dogs, so.
I'm like, go away. All right, Ashlyn, do you want to pick up from there a little bit more? Not the waving around crazy neighbors.
Sidetracked by that, I think Mark covered everything. There are more tools that we can talk about as we get closer in the discussion to more pinpointing these tools that we can use on LinkedIn, but I don't want to jump ahead of the.
Well, feel free, just jump right in. Go ahead, Ashlyn, jump in.
Well, we just saw on the previous slide that people buy from people they like. So I think you have all this data at your hands. You find one, let's say you connect with one person, they say yes, right? So now you're connected with them. You're going to probably tag them in content relevant to them. You're also probably going to go through their page, either their company LinkedIn page, or even some people who are commenting on their articles and their posts. And you're going to check them out and read their bios and see what they have going on, because they could have the same exact qualifications as the prospect list you already have. So if you get one yes, it kind of creates a wonderful funnel for you to be able to go through and navigate the data of LinkedIn and find even more potential prospects through just one yes.
Completely agree. Completely agree. It's a network
potential
effect. It can explode if you do it right and you use LinkedIn properly and you're building your network. And that's something we didn't talk about. Build your network. Work at it. You know, it doesn't have to be that particular person that you're selling to. It can be an entity of salespeople. Join sales groups, whatever that is, to build that network. And you'd be very, very surprised how it is 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You will find people that are 1 degree away from you, and you can say, reference the person that you know, that they know, et cetera, especially powerful people that have a lot of connections. Don't be afraid to say that you know someone that is important. Don't be afraid to say that you're connected or friends with them. Because once you start to build that database of contacts in LinkedIn, it turns into a massive network effect. And I can't tell you how much business I've gotten over the years by just being 1 degree away or not even realizing I was connected to someone.
Mark, can you elaborate on the groups for everybody listening?
Sure. I mean, a lot of you are part of some of these groups already, and some of you may not be. So for what it's worth, as a baseline, there are many groups within LinkedIn that are of like minds. Interested party gardening. You can have all kinds of interesting things that are in LinkedIn that aren't necessarily business-wise, but the business ones are business channel groups. There are sales professional groups. There are all kinds that whatever it is you do, connect to those people, join those groups, get to know some of those people. And this is stuff that you can do passively. It does not have to be a focus. I say to people 10 minutes a day. My team laughs at me. You can do anything 10 minutes a day and start to build. And over time, you'll see a lot of results. So yeah, these groups are very powerful, and you'll get to know a lot of people, and you can always even get a lot of advice in these groups as well, let alone networking.
What about creating your own group and inviting
100%.
people, your ideal partners in there, or other influencers into the group?
I say yes. I'll turn over to Ashlyn because she probably has more experience here, but definitely do it if you can support it. You need to be able to support a group, meaning it takes time. So if you're starting a group and all of a sudden it fizzles out and you spent tons of time on it, but you weren't able to maintain it with content and connections and posting, et cetera, then it's a waste of time. So you have to be prepared for a group to start your own.
Yeah, I would say that groups come after you have completely repolished your LinkedIn. You're getting more comfortable with reaching out to prospects. You've gotten a few prospects on the hook. I like fishing analogies. And you know, when all of that is set in place, then would be, I believe, the time to approach creating your own group if you believe that you have enough to support it to keep going.
Content. Nobody, you have to have content.
Okay, I want to remind everybody, please type your questions in the question pane. We're going to get going shortly with any questions that you have. So please type them into the question pane. All right, Mark, you talked about content. Ashlyn, you talk about content, you talk about video. The world of content has changed dramatically in the last year in terms of, it's been growing and changing. It used to be just text-based pretty much with maybe an image. Now it feels like the level of content that's expected out there can be overwhelming to some of the people who may be trying to close business. What are your suggestions on content? Does it all have to be video? How do they do it? How long does it have to be? And how frequent do they need to be doing it?
Content can be, it depends on what you're trying to push, but content can be anything from a new product where you would create maybe like a company hashtag that you and your company and all of your employees on LinkedIn would use that hashtag, because then when someone on LinkedIn clicks on that hashtag, they are going to see every post ever using that hashtag, and it creates kind of a nice place to find things like that. I think that's really necessary for companies and for just everybody. That's something we should totally have. Mark, what are your thoughts on that?
I ran an agency for most of my career, so we were a full service agency, and it was content creation all the time. And actually, Union started as a content creation company for salespeople. Don't be fearful of content you can create. Anyone can create content. Number one, it does not have to be an agency. It doesn't have to be video, gamification, all these crazy things that can get done. If yours is authentic and it resonates with your audience and it's the written word to start, that's the easiest place to go. So don't be afraid of that, because it does work. Eventually, over time, you can do richer content. The idea of doing your own videos is fantastic. You can do that. And as things grow and progress and you get bigger and you have a team, or you have a department or marketing department, yeah, content can be created by those people, but don't be afraid of starting your own at a very simple, authentic message to somebody that might care. Very straightforward. So don't overcomplicate content. You can do it.
Yeah. My recommendation is always start small. So do one a week, find an article that is relevant to what you are doing and what you would find ideal in a partner prospect, and start sharing that. Hashtags are big. They kind of draw more attention to a LinkedIn post, but then you can tag some of the connections you've made. You can get a conversation going, and I would say once a week. And then the people who do like to write articles or blog posts, I would say once a month, once you get established, to release one of those. People on LinkedIn especially respond really positively to things like that are relevant.
And things like blogs, guys. Blogs are very easy wins. That is your subject matter expert you bring in. That's you talking. Blogs are great because they're repeat content. It continues. So if you're able to do that, formalizes the ability to use that as in sales outreach, because everything in sales is about storytelling, and storytelling is content. So give them a nugget of something of value.
Ashlyn, you look like you want to say something.
No, I really agree. I mean, I am technically a ghostwriter, so it's weird for me to have my face out. I'm normally hidden behind the screens. So I'm just speaking from my own experience of I know there's a fear. I know that we are afraid to kind of put ourselves out there and be this content creator. But when you look at the results of how successful we've seen people be, it's kind of hard not to want to dip your toes in the water at full speed. So I think after this call, I hope that you guys have a totally different perspective on the entire social as a whole, because I understand how intimidating it can be.
Is there a difference between blog posts and articles?
You can post articles on LinkedIn. I don't believe you can post blogs on LinkedIn, but you can post the link to the blog on LinkedIn.
And we've done that I've done that personally, where you just take an interesting blog post, you can put it in a group. If it's a sales related blog post for a sales related group, and it's self-promotion, but it's also information. So you have to be okay with promoting yourself. This is not, you're not there to make friends, and you're there to do business. And it is okay to ask people, and I've done this. Here's an article I just wrote. I sent it to my entire database, and some people come back to me and they're like, this is not of interest to me. I'm okay with that. These are people I'm connected with. So the no comes even when you're giving relevant content to somebody that might even have interest in it. It's okay, do it.
And
Easy.
personally, I also think it's okay if maybe if you don't like Star Wars, but you wanted to connect with me, for example, if you were to play on the Star Wars admiration, because I know I would eat that up. So
Right.
it's okay to find these interests that people have, but so do your research. Do your
Yep.
research.
Yep. You don't have to have the connection with every single person. If your thing that you're selling to them works for you to connect with them in social, that's great. And we do want to work with people we like, but not everybody is the same, and not everybody likes everybody. So you don't necessarily think you're going to bat 1,000. The
Okay.
333 in baseball is excellent.
All right, there's a
So,
bunch of questions that are starting to come in, so I'm going to drop us into Q&A a little bit early because of the number of questions that are going. And as everybody can see on the slide, there are several offers that we are offering. So I'm just going to run through them for everybody. And the SASMAX special offer is your ideal partner insights. This is like an incredible thing. We'll profile up to 20 of your partners to reveal actionable data-driven insights. And you can email partneroptimizer@sasmax.com, and there's some information you need to fill out for us so that we can give you 20 of your ideal partners and what's going on with that. And Mark, you have an offer as well for
yeah, so we have
webinar
two
attendees.
things. One, we offer a free fit analysis for anyone that wants to take a look at what we have here to evaluate. There's no obligation. So if we can help you from lead generation, the fit analysis is there. And for those, especially people in the channel, we give 20% for any deal you bring us. You just refer someone over, we work the deal, and you get 20% of anything we bring in. So it works for a lot of individuals as well as companies, and it is really an ecosystem we've created that's got some really good legs. So it's worth looking at.
Ashlyn?
JS Group has an awesome 50% off self-paced social selling video course that'll kind of walk you through the process so you can take it at your own pace. And it also comes with e-workbooks so you can learn everything you need to know about being an expert social seller. They are marked at 50% off right now, so that won't last long. We also do offer boot camps if you want something a little more in depth and need a little more help. Just reach out to the email below. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So let's dive into some of the questions that are coming out. And one of them is around cancel culture. It seems like a number of people that are watching the webinar today are a bit concerned about beginning to post a lot of things or targeting people through social. What if some member of their team has something sitting out there on LinkedIn? Maybe they worked for a different company before. How do they navigate that? Is it important for them to navigate that? You'd like to take that first.
I haven't seen that be an issue, but I believe there are ways to remove yourself from that person. There's ways to untag yourself from things. There are ways to remove posts. I have not run into that problem at all, and I've been doing this for 3 years. So, Mark, do you have any different experience?
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, there have been people I've disconnected with and have disconnected with me, but I'm at 20,000 people, so you're going to get that, and that's okay because you will. Even a gentleman that I've known a long time was posting a ton of content and it was becoming a distraction to me. So we did disconnect, and it's not anything that's no animosity at all, and that's going to happen. At the end of the day, it's okay to have that happen. It's not a big deal.
Oh, you meant on other people's pages, not their own.
I was talking about potentially somebody inside your organization, but Ashlyn, and what Mark was just
Oh,
saying, that's important too. What if somebody is one of your partners and they've been talking about you, right? And then they make some crazy post out there. You
That's
could
out of
point
your
both sides of it.
control. Yeah, that's out of your control, but I mean, you'd hope that people would have the mind to think that that has nothing to do with you. At
yeah.
least I would.
It's part of being exposed. If you're going to win, you have to be exposed. So
Mhm.
it's not a major problem.
Yeah, I've never seen that happen to anyone that I've worked with. So,
Okay.
Same,
Not
never.
knock on wood, right? All right, so let's elaborate that. There's another question around personal versus company profiles.
Mm.
How important is it that the individuals inside your company that are going after their ideal partners, that their profiles look a certain way, and how does that compare to a company profile?
Ashlyn or me? Let me go first.
I have one. If you want to go first, go right ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say that polishing that profile is really important. You want to draw attention, but you also want to be short and sweet. Very short and sweet. Because nobody wants to waste their time reading it. They just want to see what's relevant to them and move on.
Yep. And I think
So,
for anyone in a company policy on LinkedIn, how it's structured is important, whether a two-person organization or Dell. Have a policy so it's structured in a certain way. Individuals can do what they want to do, but if they're part of a team, it's nice to have some ideas on what they can and can't do. So, you can't force someone on an individual profile to behave a certain way and act a certain way, but you can have policies and guidelines or just showing them how to make it better. To Ashlyn's point earlier, make it short and sweet, make it to the point, make it relevant.
and to add to that, company content, I'm sorry, I'm misspeaking. Company hashtags. Oh my goodness, company hashtags are the coolest thing. My dogs are barking, so give me one moment.
I'll carry that, Ashley. Yes, you should really build a company policy for social. Little things like company hashtags and recurring hashtags that you use that aren't even necessarily just purely branding, but more sub-branding, something you've created, something you've coined. Use them, test them.
Suggestions on how you go about testing hashtags or looking at hashtags? And is there a way to see the value of a company hashtag?
Absolutely. A company hashtag is easy. If you are Union Resolute or you are you have a company hashtag that you can place anywhere you want over time, you will see how engaged it becomes if you do a lot of posting. So it is important to have a strategy relative to that.
Ashlyn, I never realized that until you told me the other day that you can just type a hashtag into a search thing and then you can see everything related to it. So based on that, and some of the listeners may not have known that when you create that company hashtag, you can put it in the search bar and everything related to that will pop up.
Yeah,
I'm guessing you're back online now.
I am back. I would just say if I can build back on that hashtag thing, to come up with one or a few, depending on the size of the company, you can get kind of creative with it, kind of funny with it, just something catchy that really works for you. And it creates this amazing online almost archive of anything that the company posts with that hashtag, anything that you might post with that hashtag, customers, vendors, partners, everybody. So it's a really great, I really push it because it is a great way to keep everything together and allow potential partners to be able to find everything that you want them to see.
Does the hashtag need to be your company name or could it be something you want to stand for
It
or a
could be a
product?
play on words with the company name. It could be many things. I like to get creative with it, but I mean, as long as you can come up with one that is universal and is your own to the company that isn't being used already, I say do it.
Okay. How do you find out if a hashtag's being used?
Type it in on Twitter or LinkedIn, check it out, see what comes up. If nothing
Yep.
comes up, you're golden.
Okay. Yeah,
Or
you
if like
definitely.
one or two things come up, it's not being used. So
Right.
go ahead.
Um, Ashlyn, do you guys have a hashtag?
So we are actually working on a few because we're doing a little bit of a revamp right now on the marketing side because I'm on the marketing side. So we are actually coming up with a few catchy, fun slogans. But I do have someone with the last name Short who likes my short story. Boom.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Cool.
I
So
think
things creative like that.
I think one of the things I've seen you guys hashtag is save the channel.
Yes, yes. Our CEO is
Yep.
big on Save the Channel.
Okay. Mark, I want to give you that same opportunity. Do you have one you like to use?
Well, Union Resolute obviously is one, but we're doing it the same. Right now, we're going through a whole social strategy play. We're expanding and growing, so we've got now a third party coming in to help us just get it organized and actually take over some of it. Because to your point earlier, Ashley, it's hard to find the time to do things as an individual. So as you expand and grow as a company and your partner program grows, these are things that you'll see, and it's exciting when you start to kind of outgrow your own brand.
All right. Janet Shines, CEO of JS Group, happens to be watching, and she just put in the question, think, Mark, you should use hashtag we get business for you.
Hashtag you're hired.
So Janet just Post a
Hashtag,
chat out
hi,
there.
Janet.
Janet gets 5% of all business now because of that.
Yeah, there you go. Because she just created this awesome hashtag for you.
I love it. I love it.
You know, as we're winding down to the end of the webinar, are there last thought you'd like to give to our webinar attendees or those who are going to be listening to the recording that can help them along here? A specific tactic, a specific strategy.
I have a really friendly one.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
So I'm a millennial, not a normal millennial, kind of a chill one. And there's many of us, my team is made up of it. And don't be afraid. Do not be afraid of the internet. It is a wonderful tool that you can use. And there are many people that I work with, like-minded individuals that, can help tech support. You can find the tech support, you can find the content, you can find the content loader. I promise you, it sounds overwhelming. It is not as overwhelming as it seems. That is my promise to you.
I second that. And as an Xer, I grew up in the 80s, and so greed is good to a certain degree. I don't agree with that philosophy, but selling, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. If you're going to build a partner program and you have ways to actually hone it in, like SaaSmax offers with their ideal partner program, Partner Optimizer, that is a powerful tool, but use it. Use content, use your ideal customers, get a sense for where you're going, go after it. Don't be afraid. That's what you're here for, to build a business. So when you ask someone for a connection or a meeting and they say no, go on to the next one, do it again, because you'll get the yeses. You absolutely will.
I love that. I want to thank you guys both for being here and being a part of this webinar and sharing your experiences. And hopefully everybody will reach out. And let me just go back here, and everybody has written down your contact information and takes you up on these great offers that you have. There's so much that we can cover in here, and we just don't have the time and the amount that we have here. So we couldn't go as deep as we might have wanted to if we had another hour to go with some, like, here's an example of the writing of an email.
Well,
Mark
we're
and I
happy to
would be
help.
here till tomorrow talking about this. Him and I could go forever.
Yeah.
And I won't speak for Ashlyn, but I will tell you this, and I think you agree with me. Let us know if you just want to talk and you want to talk these things through. It's not a waste of our time. It's not a waste of my time. As long as you have interest in what it is we're talking about here, then this is the network effect. So take us up on it.
Absolutely.
And
Same.
they should reach out to you both on LinkedIn as well as me.
I'll be
Absolutely.
there. I'll be
All
there.
right, cool. Well, thank you both very much. And just going to close up the last few things here. This is an example of one of our clients at Partner Optimizer. They had a 40% conversion. A lot of stuff that we were talking about here. If you want to convert, make sure you're having the right ideal partners and then apply those tactics and strategies that Mark and Ashlyn just shared with you today. I mean, that was amazing stuff. I hope you took notes, and anybody watching, we are sending the recording out. So if you didn't take the notes that you wanted, you can go back and listen again. Our next webinar is coming up on July 14th, and it's how to nurture your ideal partners with proven tactics. So once you've landed them and onboarded them as your partner from the stuff that you learned today, you want to learn to keep them. It's not as easy as it seems, as you all know out there. So thank you all for being here with us today. We want to help you, all three of us. Partner Optimizer wants to help you. Let us know. Let us give you 20 free partners for you and what their ideal characteristics look like, and help you go there. So have a great day, everyone. And remember, that ideal partners make life so much easier when you go to land them. It's so much more fun too, isn't it, guys?
It is.
Amen.
And
Amen.
thank you, Laura, and thank you, SaaSmax.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you having
Have
us.
a great day, everyone.
Have a good weekend, everybody.